Months later, a small community center opened in the city, funded by Daniel, managed by Ethan. It offered job training, meals, and shelter for those on the edge. The plaque outside read, Harrison House, where second chances begin. On opening day, Daniel watched Ethan give a speech. His voice was nervous but clear. This place exists because someone believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And now we'll believe in you. Applause thundered. For Daniel, it wasn't just about wealth anymore. It was about legacy, not skyscrapers, but people. He felt the weight of his past finally lift, replaced by pride and peace. Clara, standing in the back, whispered to herself, He did it. He really did it. As the crowd dispersed, Ethan turned to Daniel. You gave me a second chance. I promise I'll give others the same. Daniel's eyes shone. Then my promise is complete. Final hook. Outside the center, another young man sat on the curb, backpack in hand, lost and alone. Waiting for his chance. The police and medics took the bitter man away. Daniel refused to press harsh charges. Let him recover, he told Clara. Maybe he still has a chance. Ethan was shaken but steady. He had seen violence, temptation, and truth, and yet Daniel still stood beside him. That night, Daniel revealed the final piece of his story. Ethan, years ago I swore to Mr. Harrison, the man who helped me, that I would repay his kindness. He's gone now, but I carry that promise. And you are my chance to keep it alive. Ethan's throat tightened. So you never saved me because I was special? Daniel smiled faintly. You are special. But not because of what you were. Because of what you can become. For the first time, Ethan felt not like a charity case but a partner. Smoke hung in the air. Clara stood at the doorway, her hand trembling around a small pistol. The bitter man staggered, clutching his shoulder. The gun dropped with a clatter. You'll kill me for him? He groaned. Clara's voice cracked. No. But I won't let you destroy him. Daniel rushed forward, kicking the weapon away. Get medics, he barked, though his eyes softened with something like pity. We were both broken once, he told the wounded man. The difference is I chose to heal. Ethan knelt, pressing a cloth to the man's wound. His own chest shook. You hated him for leaving you. But if he hadn't, maybe he wouldn't be here to save me. The man's gaze flickered with confusion, and a tear he didn't mean to shed. Ethan's hands shook as he looked between Daniel and the bitter man. His mind screamed, run, take the money, survive. But another voice whispered, stay, believe, change. He placed the envelope back on the table. I don't want your money. I want a chance. That's what Daniel gave me. The bitter man's face twisted with rage. He snatched the envelope and ripped it open, bills spilling everywhere. Fool! He'll crush you like he crushed me. Daniel's voice cut through the chaos. No. I crushed myself back then. That's why I swore to lift others now. Sirens wailed faintly outside. Clara's alarm had finally summoned help. The bitter man panicked, grabbed the gun again, and pointed it at Ethan. The bitter man stepped inside, rain dripping from his coat, gun steady in his hand. Ethan froze, envelope still clutched to his chest. Daniel raised his palms calmly. Put it down. You don't want to do this. The man sneered. You stole my chance, Daniel. You left me behind in the gutter while you climbed to glory. Now you play savior? His eyes flicked to Ethan. He doesn't know you'll use him like you used me. Clara quietly pressed a panic button under the counter, but Daniel shook his head. No police. Not yet. Then what do you want? Daniel asked. Revenge, the man hissed. He slammed the gun on the glass coffee table, making Ethan jump. Or proof you've changed. Give him the money. All of it. Let him walk out. Ethan's throat tightened. He realized this was no longer about cash. It was about trust, about loyalty. Ethan returned to Daniel's apartment with his mind in chaos. Daniel was waiting, calm but perceptive. You met him, Daniel said quietly. It wasn't a question. Ethan swallowed. He showed me things. Old crimes. Daniel didn't flinch. They're true. I was desperate, reckless, and selfish. But I never forgot the man who gave me a second chance. That's why I swore to live differently, and help someone else do the same. Ethan's chest ached. But how do I know you won't abandon me like you abandoned them? Daniel walked to a safe in the corner. From it, he pulled a sealed envelope and placed it in Ethan's hands. Because this time, I'm not investing in money. I'm investing in trust. Inside is $50,000. If you believe I'll betray you, take it and leave forever. If you believe in me, stay, and we'll build something greater. Ethan stared at the envelope, heart racing. The choice weighed more than gold. Days later, Ethan received a call from an unknown number. The bitter stranger's voice rasped. You think he's saving you? He's using you. Meet me, and I'll prove it. Ethan's chest tightened. He didn't want to betray Daniel's trust, but doubt had been planted. He agreed to meet in a dim cafe on the edge of the city. The man slid a folder across the table. Inside were old newspaper clippings, court records, and photos of Daniel as a young hustler running scams. Ethan's stomach churned. Was this who Daniel really was? See? The man hissed. He built his fortune on lies. And now he's grooming you to cover his own guilt. Ethan shoved the folder back. Even if that's true, he's the only one who's ever believed in me. That matters more than your bitterness. The man's eyes narrowed. Then you're a fool. And fools are the first to be sacrificed. The ballroom froze as the stranger's voice echoed. Daniel's hand trembled slightly at the podium, but he quickly regained his composure. Ladies and gentlemen, he said evenly, we all come from somewhere. Some pasts we celebrate, others we survive. The man's face twisted with bitterness. You survived because you lied, Daniel. You left people behind. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Cameras clicked. Clara moved fast, ushering Ethan out before the tension swallowed him. Later, in the limo, Ethan finally asked, was he telling the truth? Daniel's eyes darkened. Yes. Once I made choices to survive that cost me friends. Some never forgave me. Ethan studied him, torn between admiration and fear. Could a man who had walked through betrayal ever truly help someone else? Daniel sighed. What matters is not what I did, but what I do now. Helping you, maybe it's my way of paying back a debt I can never erase. Weeks passed. Ethan worked small jobs Daniel arranged, always honest, always steady. But Daniel wanted to see if Ethan could face a higher world, a world of wealth, temptation, and sharp smiles. He invited Ethan to a charity gala. Expensive suits, glittering chandeliers, wine glasses clinking. Ethan stood stiff in his thrift store jacket, feeling every eye on him. A businessman laughed too loudly at Daniel's side. This your project? He sneered. Picking strays now? Ethan's face burned, but Daniel's calm voice silenced the man. Careful. Strays often become wolves. Later that night, Ethan slipped out onto the balcony, overwhelmed. Clara joined him, surprisingly gentle. They'll always test you. The question is whether you let them win. Ethan looked at the skyline. I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of becoming what I hate. Clara's car trailed Ethan to a rough part of town. He entered a crumbling apartment block. Suspicion burned in her chest. She imagined drug deals, gambling debts, betrayal. But inside, Ethan knocked on a shabby door. An elderly woman answered, frail and pale. Mrs. Ramirez, he said gently. I brought something for you. He handed her a wad of bills and bags of groceries. Clara froze. Ethan wasn't wasting money. He was helping his old neighbor who had raised him like a grandmother when his own parents vanished. When Ethan left, Clara confronted him in the alley. Why didn't you tell Daniel? Ethan's jaw tightened. Because kindness isn't currency. It's not for show. Clara stared at him, her doubt cracking. For the first time, she saw not a con artist, but a man carrying invisible scars. Ethan's progress impressed Daniel, but trust is fragile. One evening, Daniel introduced him to Clara, his longtime assistant. She had managed Daniel's empire for years and could smell lies like perfume. Clara smiled politely, but her eyes were sharp. "So, you're the lucky one Mr. Cole picked up off the street?" Ethan flushed. "I didn't ask for luck. Everyone says that," Clara replied coolly. Later, Clara pulled Daniel aside. "You're giving him money and trust too fast. People break when temptation grows." Daniel didn't argue, but her words gnawed at him. Could Ethan truly rise above his past, or was he just playing along until he found an opening? That night, Daniel gave Ethan another envelope. Inside, $5,000. But this time, he added a warning. "Spend it as you will. But remember, every action leaves a shadow." Ethan's heart pounded. This wasn't just about money anymore. It felt like his entire future was being weighed. The second envelope held $1,000. Ethan's hands shook as he unfolded the bills. This was more money than he had seen in months. "Same rule," Daniel said. "Do what you want. Tell me tomorrow." Ethan's mind raced. He could pay old debts, buy new clothes, or finally sleep without hunger gnawing at him. But temptation whispered too, quick thrills, easy escapes. He walked the city all day, watching neon signs, pawn shops, and bars. At one point, he stood outside a casino, heart pounding. With one bet, he could double it. Or lose it all. Instead, he turned away and visited a thrift store. He bought a suit jacket, a tie, and a pair of decent shoes. Then he paid an overdue phone bill. The next morning, Daniel studied him. "You didn't waste it." Ethan straightened his tie nervously. "I wanted to look like someone worth believing in." Daniel offered Ethan a place to stay, not in his mansion, but in a small guest apartment he kept for employees. Ethan hesitated, suspecting a trick. But the warmth in Daniel's tone felt real. That night, as Ethan lay on the clean bed, he stared at the ceiling. For the first time in months, he felt safe. Yet doubt gnawed at him. Why would a millionaire care about someone like him? The next morning, Daniel handed him a sealed envelope. "Inside is $100, he explained. "You can do anything with it. But tomorrow, I want you to tell me what you chose and why." Ethan blinked. "That's it? No rules?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Every choice reveals something." Ethan spent the day torn. He could buy food, clothes, or even gamble it. By evening, he returned with groceries, not just for himself, but for a neighbor in the building who had 2 kids. Daniel's eyes softened. Ethan had passed the first test. But he said nothing, only nodded. As Ethan ate, Daniel drifted into memory. Years ago, he had been the one sitting alone, clutching nothing but a broken wallet. A stranger, an older shop owner named Mr. Harrison, had invited him in, fed him, and handed him $20. "This isn't charity," Mr. Harrison had said. "It's trust. Don't waste it." That moment changed everything. Daniel worked odd jobs, climbed slowly, and built the empire people now admired. But he had never forgotten the man who gave him hope when the world gave him nothing. Looking at Ethan now, Daniel realized he was staring at his younger self. The same desperation. The same fire hidden behind fear. "Ethan," Daniel said, "what if I told you one choice tonight could change your life forever?" Ethan paused, fork halfway to his mouth. "I'd say it sounds like a line from a movie. And I'd probably laugh." Daniel didn't smile. "I'm serious. You remind me of someone I used to be." Ethan frowned. "And what happened to him?" Daniel leaned back, his eyes sharp. "He made a promise. To pay forward the chance he was once given." Daniel Cole was used to headlines calling him the untouchable millionaire. His face appeared on finance magazines, his name attached to skyscrapers, and his life seemed untouchable. But on that stormy night, he stepped out of his limo and noticed a young man sitting on the curb, soaked to the bone, clutching a backpack like it was the only thing keeping him alive. Daniel could have walked past. He had meetings, dinners, obligations. But something about the young man's eyes froze him. They weren't just tired. They were eyes that knew the kind of hunger Daniel once felt decades ago. Back when he too had slept in alleys, invisible to the world. "Rough night?" Daniel asked softly. The young man looked up, wary. "Rough life." For reasons he couldn't explain, Daniel offered his hand. "Come with me. One meal. No questions." They sat in a quiet diner. The boy introduced himself as Ethan. He had lost his job, his home, and had nowhere to turn. Daniel listened, each word dragging him back to the days when he too had begged for a second chance. When Ethan finally whispered, "I just need someone to believe in me," Daniel's chest tightened. It was the exact phrase he had once said to a stranger long ago.